Start.
Ok. Hello, ciao, Andrea, un piacere. Grazie mille. Thank you so much for welcoming me into your center here in Padova.
Yes.
I'm delighted to be here and to meet you in the flesh, because in the flesh, do you know what that means? Have you heard of that expression before? No?
Not
in the flesh means face to face, in person.
Face to face, in the flesh.
Because I've been doing this via Zoom online. And so this is the first time, or one of the first times I'm able to do it in person. And I've had the pleasure of publishing articles with you. I invited you one of my first articles, and then later you also contributed to one of the special issues I wrote. So I'm really delighted to meet you. And meet also Barbara. Barbara as well. Barbara Trota, who also contributed, and who's actually our producer today, so thank you, Barbara. So, and of course, your center is called the Centro Padovano della Terapia della Famiglia, which in English is Family Therapy Center of Padova.
Yes.
Okay, so perhaps where we can start, and of course, before perhaps even there, you're a psychiatrist. First, initially as a psychiatrist, child psychiatrist, or can you tell me?
Adult psychiatry.
Sorry?
Adult
psychiatry. Okay, adult psychiatry. Yes, that's how you started. And you did your studies in Padova. You studied in Padova.
I studied in Padova, and I take my graduation in Padova.
Yes.
And I began to work in Padova.
Padova, very strongly.
I worked also in Belgium 1 year, but after in 1978,
right.
I think 1 year. But all the rest of the time I stay in Padua, and I work in a public service in a psychiatric hospital in Padua.
Right. And that's what it all began.
1974.
Yes, 1974, right. Quite a while.
My first year in a psychiatric hospital.
Right. And so that's where I'm going to ask.
A lot of years.
Yes, so perhaps that's where we can start. We can go on from then on, and I'm curious about the influence, of course, the Milan approach, and how that all came to be, because I believe your center and your center in general, the teaching that you do here, it's centers or it's influenced by the Milan approach. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes? Yes. And so perhaps if we can talk a little bit about its evolution, how it came to be, and the influence, particularly from Boscolo and Cecchin, as we were speaking earlier. So perhaps you can tell me that. So take me through from the beginning, perhaps, the evolution when you met Boscolo at the psychiatric hospital. Perhaps we can start there, if that's okay with you.
Yes.
And we've got that wonderful Barbara, who's also an interpreter, so she can also translate if you get lost.
And help us
precisely.
More clear.
Precisely. So
because I apologize for my English. It's not so good.
That's okay.
It's
wonderful.
okay.
So let's start.
Okay.
You tell me.
Okay. Very interesting for me to describe this evolution, because it's my life.
Yes.
And my life is like a psychiatrist is very important for myself. And I knew the systemic theory, like I told you, with Boscolo, when Boscolo in 1974, the first year that I worked in a psychiatric hospital of Padua, I arrived to do supervision for all the psychiatrists.
So you provided the supervision to the psychiatrist?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And each 15 days, Boscolo came in Padua, and we had a group to discuss different situations. And I knew that the systemic theory, and it was the perfect theory for the social work in psychiatry. you know.
Yes.
And at this moment I was in a political movement, Basaglia, and all the movement to break the wall of the psychiatric hospital.
The power.
The power, yes, and to
deinstitutionalize.
Deinstitutionalize
Yes.
the patient,
Yeah.
and to integrate the patient in the social network.
The community network.
The community. And so the systemic theory was perfect to work in the relation.
Right.
For me and
So-
for my colleague Pio Peruzzi, we worked together a lot of years,
Right.
and we found
Yes.
this center together.
Yes.
And been very important, this theory.
Yes.
So at this moment, it was 1 year before paradox and counter-paradox.
Do you mind telling me a little bit about that?
Yes,
Andrea, if that's okay
it
with
was
you?
very, because the model of Milan team at this moment was with Bateson's ideas, but also with MRI center, brief therapy center, paradox, the prescription of the symptom. So they mixed the two levels, and with the
they blended it. It was a blend.
The join the hypothesis and the paradox, and born the counter-paradox.
Yes.
The counter-paradox is join the three concepts, the function of the patient, the familiar game of the family, and the prescription of the symptom.
That's right. Yes.
And they mix these three concepts, and they produce, they made the counter-paradox.
Yes, they developed that, based on all
counter-paradox, yes. At this moment, Boscolo always told us a lot of things about the Centro per lo Studio della Famiglia. It was not Milan Center, it was the first center in Milan. When the group of the Mara Palazzoli, Prata, Boscolo and Cecchin was together.
Right.
And Boscolo...
This was the original place.
Yes, well, the original. And Boscolo told us a lot of things, and our impression was a group very unito, very lot of joy. When the work continued, and Pio and I began to go in Milan,
in Milan,
to begin our training in family therapy.
I see. And what year was this?
It was in 1979.
Right.
1979. We did 4 years supervision in psychiatric hospital with Boscolo, only with Boscolo. After in Milan began to organize training, and we began to go to Milan to have training well performed.
Yes.
So, and our impression was also group very joined inside together. They work together. Frequently we see Mara and Prat and Ljubljana too, and we see different sessions with different style of therapy, but with a lot of collaboration. When arrived the article hypothesization, circularity and neutrality, is the last work together. They made it together.
You mean
And
the four of them?
And it was in 98.
Yes.
1 year before.
Yes.
1 year after.
Yes.
We see in when we went, we go in Milan. We see that was some difference.
Yes.
Because Boscolo
The
and
approaches,
Cecchin,
there were some different influences, different approaches.
yes, but also in non-verbal.
Right.
In the corridor,
I see.
you see less interaction and something like this.
Right.
So our impression was that Boscolo and Cecchin began to do training. And this for Mara Palazzoli was not a good thing, because she was overall in research. And they think about the hypothesis, the first principle of the therapy,
Yes.
hypothesizing,
Yes.
like a hypothesis that is used for the research, for
Yes. So that was the focus, was the
to
research.
focus the functionment of the family in different pathology.
Right.
So
Boscolo and Cecchin,
Boscolo and Cecchin,
more focused on the practice.
Boscolo and Cecchin was more focused on the practice, but also of the in the use of the hypothesis, like a cognitive structure of conversation.
Right.
And this is a very important difference, because if you use the hypothesis like Mara Palazzoli, the therapist search always if the hypothesis is the true hypothesis.
Right.
If you use the hypothesis like a cognitive structure, you use the hypothesis in a more softly way. You can use construct the hypothesis with the family, not
and kind of fluidity, more organically as well born.
Yes, and also the conversation change.
Yes.
Because if you work to see if your hypothesis is a true hypothesis, you investigate with attention about the truth. If you work with the hypothesis in like a cognitive structure, you work with the hypothesis like an opportunity to
so it emerges naturally.
Search with the family, not on the family, in the family, with the family. It's a different, for me, it's a different, also, and it was different, and for this I like Boscolo and Cecchin, because the empowerment of the family was better in this second way. In the other way, you observe the family.
So they become the source of the focus.
You leave the session.
Because you are, in fact, part of the system.
Yes, and this, you can see, you are more feedback in this second way from the family, and less feedback.
From the first, because it's already it's already been decided in your mind, whereas here it emerges naturally and it's part of it, so it evolves and it evolves naturally.
Yes. And so this different, it was a very big difference, like we have observed in this time, at this time. This second way to work was very important also to work in social psychiatry, because you can't work in the normal practice, you don't have too much power with the patient.
Yes.
You can't have an attitude too much lenient, too much in judgment
Yes.
of the patient, of the family, because the family go and say, I want another psychiatrist.
Yes, that's right. And maybe that's what
the conversation with the family in a constructivistic way is more useful for the family of the practice day by day.
Yes, absolutely. So it's very empowering. And perhaps that's the point where I'd like to know a little bit more about it. You said, I fell in love when you were telling me a little bit before we were having a chat before this. You said, I fell in love with systemic therapy, the way it was presented to me. And so, do you mind telling me about the linearity into circularity? So how did that look like for you?
Yes, it's very, the difference is very big difference, because when I worked with social theory, with a political theory in psychiatry, I was searching the enemies.
Yes.
I was searching.
And who was the enemy? Who was the enemy?
Was in the family, the parents.
Yes. In a blaming perspective. Yes. It came from a blaming perspective already.
Because the evolution in the time is so easy. The parents born before the son. Never the son can born before the parents.
Yes. So there was a rigid way of thinking before. It was you already, as a therapist, you had already made up your mind what was the issue. And it was a blaming approach. It was very much based, already done. Whereas the second option, the opportunity, as you evolved and as you learned, was more of something natural that emerged, and there were lots of surprises. And because of that as well, because you were part of the system, which more realistically done, and so that empowered people too, because it gave them the room to move, to evolve in itself, and to progress, and better outcomes.
Yes, better outcomes. And another difference, very important, is that if you work in a linear way in the social work, and you think that the pathology is made from the social relation, and you search the enemy in the social, in the implicit, you don't activate the patient for you made the patient passive.
Yes, indeed.
No? Because a poor patient is a victim of the.
So, Andrea, would that be right? You do to the patient rather than do with.
And this in the social work, it's mean that you can do rehabilitation, not therapy.
Yes.
Therapy include a reflexivity activity, and this is the limit of the social work, political work in psychiatry. So when I know the systemic theory, I felt, I felt that was a theory that can do empowerment.
Yes.
All the people, in all the
could
people
do all of it.
who you have to work.
Yes.
So you can have a conversation with the patient like he can understand what you are telling to him, and also the family, and also the parents, and this is very important.
Absolutely. So much more humanistic approach.
Much more humanistic approach.
Yeah.
So And this is the difference between linearity and circularity in the work is not is a very big difference. It's a very big difference. It changes all the way to work with the patient and the family.
So then, is that then perhaps, so when did the split occur between the four of them, Boscolo and Cecchin and Mara, Salvini, Palazzoli and Prata, that's right. So that's the point, at what point did the split become more apparent? And when did
they split their keep between 1980 and 1982. At the end of 1982.
So for about 10 years they were together? Because
they
started
worked together
70.
about 10 years,
yeah.
From 1970 to 1980.
Yes.
After this 10 years, they split the keep. Yes.
So can you tell me a little bit about when they split, what happened? Because you're highly influenced by Boscolo and Cecchin's ideas, because obviously Boscolo supervised you, and then they both came. You were telling me also before about I think it was Boscolo that came. Cecchin came from with the MRI influence, the Mental Research Institute, and Boscolo came from the Ackerman Institute. So they both came with their own influences and came in and joined in.
Yes,
and then how you came to be as a center. Yes.
Firstly, I want to say something about the difference between Mara and Boscolo and Cecchin, as we saw in the time, at this time.
Yes.
In the structure of the session, Boscolo and Cecchin use more question. In the other way, Mara use more definition. And this
Can you give me an example of that?
I can see the information about the hypothesis, and at the end of the session I say to the family, your family games here, that is your family game.
So that's in the Salvini Palazzoli style.
Yes. Yeah. In Boscolo and Cecchin work, you can say, I thought that is possible, that hypothesis is true for you, it makes sense for you. Perhaps it happened that the father think this about what happened with his own family, and there is very different.
Yes.
The pattern.
Yes.
So, and we began to work with Boscolo and Cecchin in this way.
So at that point then, what is a family likely to do when they are provided with that opportunity and openness? Because I see that as an open room for them to reflect and to process, rather than being stuck. So it starts to create more movement and to start wondering that there's other possibilities and get them to think. So that's what you're saying.
Yes, and in the session there was always a lot of possibilities.
Yes.
No? And the choice of the most useful possibility was made with the family. So I can, like a therapist, I can also say, I have another idea, and I can say to the family my idea, and I can say also to the family, my idea is very different from your idea. We can stop the session to think about the two ideas. And to have different ideas is a resource for the system. It's not a limit for the system. And this is very good for us.
And that's another key aspect, that you then start providing resources that are born organically just there, that they just emerge naturally on their laps.
Yes.
Yes, because you are able to engage in that interactive style, where then the resources start emerging
Yes, a lot of resources emerge
Yes.
in the session
Yeah.
in this way.
Yes.
So, in this work, in 1985, Pio and I founded this center in Padua. Boscolo and Cecchin, we made our training from 1979 to 1983. 4 years.
Yes.
Okay. In 1984, Boscolo asked to us to begin to go to Milan and work like assistant, not
Part
teacher.
of the faculty, no? The support.
Support.
Yeah. Yes.
And to start the formazione, the training, training to be teacher.
Yes.
And assistant.
So you were both part of this process.
Both.
Yeah.
Both
Yes.
together.
Right.
Two different groups.
Yes, because at that stage so
the
far.
Same year.
At that stage so far, until then, there was the teaching wasn't taking place yet. Until then. That was the point when it was started. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that is point.
Yeah.
After, in 1985, Boscolo and Cecchin asked to us to begin the first year of training in Padua.
Yes.
And we founded the center. In the time, for 2 or 3 years, we made only the first year of training in Padua, and the other 3 years was in Milan.
Oh,
And
yeah.
after the first 2 years, and after the
Right.
first 3, and after,
I see.
so
And where would Boscolo and Cecchin would be doing then? In Milan. So they were located in Milan.
they
Still.
are located in.
And so what would be their role in this Centro Padovano? What would be their role? Would they provide supervision to you?
Yes, supervision. They provide supervision,
Yeah.
and they come sometime. They came in Padua 2 or 3 times in the year to have a meeting with the students and work one day and workshop one day with the student. It was very good for us. Very good work. So I think in 10 years, 1995, we began to have all the 4 years in Padua.
Right.
1985.
95, sorry.
1985,
Yes.
the
You
first
started.
year. We
Yes.
started in 1995.
Yes.
We have the 4 years in Padua. And at this time, the center, Malazzellini Palazzoli and Boscolo and Cecchin was 2 different centers, and the 2 equipes work independently.
Different teams.
In different way. And different. So, also, when we start to have the 4 year, we start also to have some collaborator, some other colleague that work with us, Galvano, Gino Bozzetto, and other ladies that began to work with us to help us to do the training. And we continue at this time to work also in a psychiatric hospital.
Right.
So our practice it has been always about the psychiatric symptom, not not a lot in social relation,
Yes.
in pathology.
Yes.
Because, and at the same time, in my work in public service, I founded the first family therapy center public,
Right.
Servizio di terapia familiare, family therapy
Dove?
service in Padua,
In Padua,
public,
yes.
public service,
Right.
who worked for all the region Veneto, of Veneto region.
Right.
And it was, I think, one of the first public service in Italy at this moment.
Yes.
So our work, Pio was the boss of the service in Chioggia
Right.
at the same time. And we work in public, and in the afternoon we work in the
Right.
center, in the morning in the psychiatric hospital.
Yes.
So, to have the 4 years of training began also to permit us to develop also new ideas about systemic work and about how was possible to work in public service with because the different in public service, the work in public service
Yes.
was very different from the work in the Milan Center.
Yes.
Because it's not possible in public service to work with paradox.
Yes, yeah, true,
It's
true.
not possible.
And I was going to ask you that, how was it then working still in psychiatric hospital and your center? Because it would have been somewhat challenging in a way. You would have taken some tools that you've learned and developed with the
Yes.
support and under supervision of Boscolo and Cecchin, and then you would have taken some of that into the space at psychiatric, hospital. However, there's still the influences of the power of this psychiatry there. The still movement is still there, so it would have been some challenges, I imagine.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
very
What were those?
One thing.
Yes.
If the thing is about the power of the therapist. If Boscolo and Cecchin, for very famous therapists, and when the patient go to the mind center, they go with a lot of
Hope.
hope and expectative.
Yes, expectation. Yes,
So,
yes.
The word of the therapist is like a
The
truth.
gospel.
More easy, like a truth, like
Yes.
oracle.
Yes, oracle, yes.
oracle. When you are a psychiatrist of normal social work, also if you are in your center,
Yes.
you are not a famous psychiatrist, psychiatrist, you have to gain your credibility day by day.
Yes.
So,
It's a gradual process.
gradual process. Okay.
Yes.
So, this is an advantage because you have to be more attentive to use your word, to use your hypothesis,
Yes.
and build the hypothesis with the patient, because the patient have to feel that you understand what is his meanings and his
Absolutely.
way to live his own life.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
So this is a difference. I think that we have understood in the public service, and we transport this in the private service.
You were able to transfer it.
This is a
Yeah.
very big,
Yeah.
I think, very big value that the work in the
Yes.
public service
Yeah.
give us for our practice also in private service. And this is also important that you pay attention that your hypothesis is the most useful for the people.
Yes.
So,
yes.
And so we began to work, me perhaps more than Pio, began to work about the concept of the hypothesis and the method to construct the hypothesis.
Is this okay at this time if I take you back a little bit and then you can start telling me this or continue to tell me about your method? You told me something interesting before as well. Many things interesting, of course. Right. One of the things was about Bates's influence, the ecology of mind, and how in terms of the hypothesis and all that. Can you tell me that a little bit more? You told me in the original, at the early days. Of the development.
The influence is, for me, overall, about one concept. The hypothesis is a true living, a true new nuova creatura della mente.
A new way to, new birth of the mind.
New birth of the mind, like in nature.
Yes.
Each form of life in the nature
in
is an hypothesis.
Yes.
And the hypothesis is the life of the mind. This is
that's the ecology of mind.
The influence of the ecology of mind in our work. So it's very important because your attitude in work is always to construct something with the patients, because you think that is possible only constructing the patient, because the nature only constructs some new form of life, and you have to work in therapy to construct new form of life with the patient. No? So, and this is very important for the patient because he feels that his therapy believe in him, believe in his possibility. So, and you can never judge the patient, never stop to work with the patient.
It gives life to therapy, it gives life also to the person. It's almost like they are reborn, there's possibilities.
Yes. You work always about possibilities, new possibilities. So, and this is, I think, the most important things that the ecology of mind gave to me, like a therapist. And like,
it was a gift.
A good gift, a true gift.
And which brought wisdom to you, and then in turn brought wisdom to your clients and to your students. Yes.
And also, and I say always at this moment, I say always I have to think what can I learn more in the situation.
Yeah, because in you doing that, it gives you a chance to do something different and new. There's always, it's constantly evolving. It's never sleepy. It's alive. It's ticking. It's like a heart. Heartbeat, isn't it? Otherwise, it's mortar, and it's no longer. It doesn't have life. It has little pulse, and it's kind of. It's only machinery, kind of like a coma, in the hospital. Whereas there, it just gives you life. It makes so much more sense. Therefore, it brings hope to people. Better outcomes because hope is there. And certainly would also help with trust. Because trust is important in this sense.
The trust is a part of this relation. If you think that it is possible or only to produce new possibilities, the trust is the normal way to work with
Yes.
someone.
Absolutely. Yes. So you were telling me about you and Piero, that the what you were doing, how the way you work, and yes.
With Pio.
evolution.
With Pio,
Ah,
sorry,
Pio,
with
with
Pio,
Pio.
yes.
My work
With Pio, with your
Pio.
partner, yes. You were telling me about your work with him and how you worked here
We
in
worked
terms of
together
yes.
27 years.
Yes.
Let's say like
Yes, and I'm so
A
sorry.
marriage.
Yes.
Like a marriage.
Yes, like a marriage.
Like a marriage.
Yes.
Like a marriage.
And I'm sorry you
No,
lost
we was
him
very
because he
similar.
passed.
We were very similar
Yes.
in this way to
Yeah.
concept therapy, and this permit to us to work together for
Yes.
a lot of years.
Yes.
The difference between Pio and me was Pio was perhaps more spontaneous in therapy.
How so? What would that look like?
Um,
What would I be seeing?
in the conversation, if you see one video on the Pio therapy, you can see that he made some question, and after he tried to construct one hypothesis immediately.
So it was on the go at the time. Yes.
In my work, I go more
Reflect,
slowly,
maybe? Reflect a bit more?
Yes, and I
Yeah, progressive.
I give more attention to construct one line of questions that permit to the family to have one hypothesis, and after I can propose, or I can ask, do you have an hypothesis now? What we can thinking about this, or I propose my hypothesis, and this was the difference.
Yes, but then again, that worked as a good team, wasn't it? That made you more robust because you want that
Yes,
difference.
yes,
It's
yes.
kind of like working with couples, for example. You know, they're going to have different processes. So if you were working with a family or a couple, they'll be able to see their timing is different, the way they process things is different. So you
Yeah.
were producing that in that similar way.
Yes, yes. And we help, we work together, frequently together for 8 or 10 years.
Yeah.
2 days in the week, 2 afternoons in
Right.
the week.
Yes.
After the training, the work,
Yes.
we began to work also alone. But it was very, very comfortable to work together. And for
right.
me, when Pio died, it was a very
Sorry,
big,
yes. Big loss. Yeah.
big loss. Yes, big loss.
Yes.
But the life,
Yes.
purtroppo,
Yes.
the life is.
Yes. It is like
So,
that, isn't it?
But this, I think, the difference was overall in this about this different way to work with hypothesis.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
And it makes, because there was a good marriage with you in terms of, a good marriage with you and Pio, there was a good marriage with Boscolo and Cecchin as well, where they were at. The timing was also good, wasn't
Yes.
it? Because
Yes.
you said, I need something, and there's this something that I'm not getting. And when you were introduced to the notion of circularity, systemic relationships, and that notion just took you really connected with yourself, and you saw so much potential for many things for people. So it opened so many doors. So many opportunities.
Yeah.
And so in doing that, you're empowering them.
Yeah.
In doing that, you're bringing hope. They're able to become more reflective. They're able to connect with their strengths as well, as you were saying before. And so the relationship here that you're establishing with them is stronger, and their own relationship as a family also strong.
Yes.
So that makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
What would I be seeing differently now in your center, as opposed to what would be different and similar to the original Milan approach?
To now.
Yes.
Before I want to say one
Yes.
thing about
Yes.
the difference between Boscolo and Cecchin.
Yes, do tell me, please.
I told before that Boscolo was in Ackerman Institute.
Yes.
And Cecchin worked in brief therapy.
That's
center.
right, MRI, yes.
LA, strategic therapy,
That's right.
Erickson. Cecchin was more Ericksonian
Yes.
therapist. Boscolo was most narrative therapist.
Yes.
You know, and this difference,
Yes.
it was very evident in
Yeah.
their different way to do therapy.
Yes.
Because
Like you and Pio, you had your own way.
perhaps Pio it
Yes.
was perhaps more similar to Cecchin, and I more similar perhaps to Boscolo. Boscolo, if you see one therapy, he works with questions, and after he try to tell an history, a new history for the patient
Yes.
that contain the hypothesis, and you can recognize the line of interpretation of the Ackerman Institute. And
That
you
makes
can
sense.
see in the
familiarity there.
in the last period of the life, Boscolo life,
Yes.
you can see a lot of psychoanalytic concept
Yes.
that come back to insert
That's
in the
right.
hypothesis.
That's so
for
interesting. So
Boscolo.
there were things that are coming through
Yeah.
to all the different.
Yeah.
Yes, that's quite interesting.
Cecchin,
That's
if
so
you see the
interesting.
style, the
Yeah.
therapeutic style
Yeah.
of Cecchin, it was a style based overall in the question about the incongruence,
Right.
or if there are some difference between the word and the non-verbal of the patients, and he uses frequently paradoxical question. I know it's impossible for you to do these things, it's true.
Irreverence.
It's
Yeah.
approach.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and Cecchin very rarely, not frequently, describe his own hypothesis. Perhaps sometime at the end of the session, we thought that in this family perhaps it happened like this. Can you say about this? Sometime, or my colleague in
behind the
supervision
mirror.
behind the
Yes.
screen
Yes.
said that the hypothesis this, but I don't think this about.
Yes.
It's always this was the way
Yes.
the Cecchin.
That he worked.
And
Yeah.
the training in brief therapy center.
Yes, that's right. It is very much, you could see it, you couldn't hide it, the familiarity was there. Yes.
From the style,
Yes.
but it was good.
Yes.
Also for this different, because
Yes.
one thing stay together regarding
Yes,
other
absolutely.
things.
And it makes it a good
So-
team, a strong, robust team, because it's nonetheless you're in sync.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So,
So, we come back at the evolution.
yes.
When we arrived to organize all the work in the hypothesis, and this is overall my work, Pio continues to work with this way to construct an interaction. And I, thinking about the hypothesis, I thought correspondence between the familiar games, the games of the family, and what's happened inside the person, and the different level of organization inside when someone has one function in the family games. So I construct the model of the quadrilateral, systemic quadrilateral, the 4 level to understand the human interaction. Narration, storytelling, communication, relation, and function inside. So at this moment arrive the neuroscience and the trauma theory. And I have the family games that produce a traumatic experience, who produce inside some difficulty and in the organization of the brain, of the network, neural network in the brain. And the joinment with all the attachment theory and the other like this. At this moment, when this model has been clear, I try to connect other intervent from other therapy at different level of this
joining.
Yes. So, and overall hypnosis, EMDR, and experiential hypnosis, because it's a easy way to go inside. EMDR because it's very precise to go in the trauma. And experiential method because it's a very easy way to work with the whole person. Emotion, thinking, action, and we can. So in this way, and all these levels are connected with hypothesis. So from Milan, I have the hypothesis, and after I develop all the other level. Yes. Now, at this moment, in the center, as a Padua, as in Trieste,
because you have 2 centers, don't you?
This model, the model systemic integrative. Integrative model in systemic therapy. Not integrate, because I think the theory, systemic theory is a meta theory. It's not, and after you have one kind of therapy who come from this meta theory. But with this theory you can interpret each type, each kind of therapy, and you can decide at what level, because each kind of therapy produce one way to define the relation with the patient, and you have to work thinking this, what is more useful for this patient, to work at the level of the family games, or he needs to have some before one help in himself. And you try to understand and construct with the patient what is more useful for him. So, and now also I have integrate all my therapists and teacher sono formati e they
have a training
in hypnosis in EMDR. And other, Barbara also in
sensory motor.
Other in other form, but these three all, because I think is now at the moment there are the three things that can integrate in more useful way.
So I can see you, just like Boscolo and Cecchin, you were able to take little bits from here, little bits from there, and you've evolved. You allowed yourself to evolve.
Yes.
And also you with Pio together in your own styles. You've blended that in. And you've been able to bring the best out of it. So you've developed your own style with bits of different contributions, different influences.
Yes, I try to do it.
Yes.
To do this.
And that is constantly evolving, because in our discussion we had a conversation before, and you were telling me it's constantly, you're curious about new things coming up as well.
Yes,
Yeah, the contribution.
I think now is a fantastic period about the curiosity.
That's
in the
right,
functional
exactly.
mind.
Yes.
Never in the time you can see the functionment of the mind like this way, because I think that the psychotherapy of the future can be very different.
Yes, yes.
But we have to be always curious about the new things.
Yes, absolutely.
And this is very Bethesdian.
Yes, yes, Bethesdian, yes.
The science doesn't invent anything.
That's right. Yes.
Invent only different way to describe something.
Right. That's right.
So the curiosity.
You are
constantly
changing,
to
constantly
search
evolving,
something.
yes.
Huh?
In search for something new.
Search for something.
Yes. Like an anthropologist, in a way, isn't it?
Anthropologist,
Yes, if he was an anthropologist, after all. But that's the constant change in evolution. The context is important, and that sense of curiosity, because you need to be curious in session, you need to be curious with the students, you need to be curious with each other. You and Pio, Boscolo with Cecchin, and their own influence, Ackerman, MRI, and coming in and bringing that curiosity into the place, and so be able to use creative means as well to bring that out for families. Andrea, has been an absolute pleasure spending time with you today, and I'm absolutely delighted, and thank you so much. Very privileged to spend time with you, to hold this interview, this conversation with you, and spending some time in Padova as well. That's been delightful. I'm really very grateful, and I'm sure people are going to gain from you, because this will be seen, I'm sure it'll be watched many times, and there will be practitioners, educators, so academics, as well as students, and maybe some clients as well. So that will really be able to, that will be helpful for them, for each person, in each context. And one last question. What would you like to say, or what would be the message you want to give to the people that are listening? What would be a message about a piece of advice, a recommendation, a sense of wisdom, an Andrea wisdom, let's call it? What would that be?
Oh. For the therapist?
Yes, for whoever, yes, therapists, therapists, training therapists, academics who are training the therapists.
My message, I think the message is overall to have the curiosity to learn something new.
Yes, yes.
Never to think to have the truth.
Yes.
No, never, because when you think to have the truth, your thinking becomes to be linear. It's not possible you can understand the feedback, you can see the feedback, and you have more interested to the feedback
That's right.
that, because in the feedback that permit you to have a new idea.
Yeah.
If you have your ideas, it's not
Yes.
possible to,
Yes.
and
That's right.
also this is true for all kind of therapy. Also
Yes.
for the therapy
Yeah.
like EMDR, it seems very structured.
Yes.
But if you don't pay attention to the patient and how the thought proceed in his mind, you can't use the process in a way very useful for him.
Yes.
So because the technique is one thing,
Yes.
and the relation has to be joined to the techniques, but in the base of the techniques. So I think if the therapist think always that they can learn something more for the patient
Yes.
and for the new therapy,
Yes.
they never have to see I am the truth.
That's right. Because otherwise, it's holding the power. The therapist is holding the power versus empowering the clients.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that creates a stagnance, and it doesn't evolve. So what you want to do is empower the clients, not to stay stuck in sitting with power
Yes.
on your own. Like
Yes,
you
good.
hold on knowledge, because there are many. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Andrea.
Thank
It's
you
been an
too.
absolute
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Grazie mille. Grazie
Piacere
mille.
tutto mio.
Oh,
My
piacere.
pleasure.